各位观众，大家上午好。今天我们在这里纪念中国抗战胜利75周年。下面撞钟仪式正式开始，请向死难者默哀。默哀毕，请第一排观众向前，请向死难者敬献鲜花。请第二排观众向前，请向死难者敬献鲜花。撞6下，每一下之间请保持1到2秒的间隔，请开始。我们第二组观众撞钟是撞7下，请开始。
Hello everyone, welcome to Xinhua Live. I'm Eric and this is Melody. Hi Melody.
Hi.
Do you know what's unique about today, September the 3rd?
Yes, of course, Eric. Today marks the 75th anniversary of the victory in the Chinese People's War of resistance against the Japanese aggression and the Second World War.
And today we're here broadcasting to you from the East China city Nanjing, where a shocking tragedy happened in history, the Nanjing Massacre, where the Japanese invaders killed more than 300,000 civilians and unarmed soldiers.
The Nanjing Massacre is one of the darkest moments in human history. Now we are at the Memorial Hall for the victims during the massacre, a solemn location that helps people to understand the preciousness of peace.
And if you are interested to know more, please follow us. And for the record, in most Chinese cities, we don't have to wear face masks at the large open outdoor space, but when we go indoors, we need to follow the rules to wear face masks. This venue is all about international help during the wartime. Chinese people have never forgotten about those international friends who extended support during the time.
During the Nanjing Massacre, more than 20 foreigners risked their life by staying in Nanjing, using their special status as citizens of neutral nations, and established a Nanjing safety zone in 25 shelters. This is a picture of Nanjing safety zone. This is a picture of these foreigners. We can see there are John Rabe, Minnie Vautrin, and John McGee. John Rabe, a German, was elected chairman of the International Committee of Nanjing Safety Zone. Together with other members, they saved more than 250,000 refugees. Regarded as the Oskar Schindler of China, John Rabe worked for Siemens. In order to save the Chinese who are unable to flee, he even turned his residence into a shelter camp, sheltering more than 600 refugees. When John Rabe was called back to Germany in 1938, he took with him a 10-volume diaries, which recorded the atrocities of Japanese invaders. These diaries were unveiled to the public by his granddaughter more than 40 years after his death, and these diaries has become the important resources in the study of Nanjing Massacre. He became widely known across China. Now, the docent of the Memorial Hall will introduce these diaries.
So over here, we may notice that this is a replica of the diary of Rabe. In this diary, Mr. John Rabe kept much important evidence about Japanese atrocities. In the meantime, he also preserved much first-hand documents, including some photos, letters, and documents about Nanjing Massacre. In addition to this, Mr. John Rabe also preserved much information about how the foreigners helped the Chinese refugees during wartime.
Actually, in addition to John Rabe, many other foreigners like Robert Wilson, Minnie Vautrin, and John McGee also helped the refugees in Nanjing. Robert Wilson is the only surgeon who chose to stay in Nanjing during the massacre. On the day of December 14, 1938, he performed 11 operations. By December 18th, 150 people are waiting to be treated by him. Many Chinese people may be familiar with Minnie Vautrin, who was regarded as the goddess of mercy for children and women. Now, the docent of the Memorial Hall will give us a brief introduction of Minnie Vautrin.
Okay. Dear audience, so over here we may notice this sculpture, and the character of this sculpture was Mrs. Minnie Vautrin. During Nanjing Massacre, she was in charge of Jinling College, now known as Nanjing Normal University. As we may notice from the sculpture, Mrs. Minnie Vautrin was opening her arms just like a hen protecting all the young chicks. As a matter of fact, during Nanjing Massacre, Jinling College became a very important shelter and protected over 10,000 Chinese women and children. Unfortunately, due to long-time stress, Mrs. Minnie Vautrin suffered from severe depression, and she committed suicide after 1 year when she came back to the United States. Before she passed away, she left a note saying that, "If I had a second chance, if I had a second life, I would also try my best to help all the Chinese refugees in Nanjing." In front of the sculpture, over here we may see, this is a photo of the tomb. This is a photo of the tombstone of Mrs. Minnie Vautrin. And on the photo we can see, on the tombstone we can see 4 Chinese characters engraved on it. 永生精灵, translating into English as Living Forever in Nanjing.
John McGee is one of the members of the International Committee of Nanjing Safety Zone that needs to be mentioned. As an American missionary, he was stationed at Nanjing during the massacre. He secretly shot a 105 minutes of footage that documented the barbarity of Japanese invaders, and it was considered the only film record of the massacre. And again, the docent of the Memorial Hall will introduce something about John McGee.
So audience, over here we can see this is a 16mm camera as well as some film box. And during Nanjing massacre, Mr. John McGee used this 16mm camera and secretly taped the Japanese atrocities in Nanjing. And these films became very important evidence at the International Military Tribunal for the Far East after the war. In 2002, David McGee, John McGee's son, donated his father's film as well as a camera to the Memorial Hall. And in 2015, the documents of Nanjing massacre were listed in the World Memory of UNESCO. Mr. John McGee's camera and the films were also listed in the World Memory.
Chinese people have never forgotten those stories about international friendship and never hesitate to show gratitude and help when our foreign friends are in need. People in Nanjing always keep their deeds in mind. For example, early this year, when the COVID-19 pandemic was raging in Germany, Thomas Raab, grandson of John Raab, told the Chinese embassy there that their family and the local hospitals were short of medical supplies and medicine. Nanjing wasted no time taking action. For example, the Memorial Hall for the victims and some Chinese drug companies donated medical supplies and medicine, which was useful in treating the coronavirus disease to help the local people there. The 14 years long resistance war against Japanese aggression was one of the darkest periods in Chinese history, but the courage and bravery of the Chinese people, which led to the final victory, emerged as significant forces for new challenges. Here is the handprint relief wall, the handprint relief of veterans during the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. On the sandstone wall are the handprints of 648 veterans of the war, which were gathered from veterans from all over the country. The fingerprints of veterans bear the legacy of those bloody years and the unyielding will of the Chinese people. It is they that drove out the invaders for China and ushered in today's peaceful and happy life. And today we have Professor Liu Chen with us. Liu is a professor in world history at Nanjing University and a renowned scholar in peace studies. Hi, Professor Liu.
Hi.
So do you think we should carry forward the spirit of anti-invasion war, and why?
I can ask you this question definitely. Yes, we need this kind of spirit. Why? I understand in this kind of spirit, the two terms is very important. One term is justice. You know, everybody, we need justice. All society need justice. Without this kind of justice, we couldn't have a peaceful world. So everybody, every nation, they have some power. Without this kind of power, we couldn't exist. But nobody, no country can use their power to invade others. If you did it or do it, other people, other country or nation have the right to against you. This is my understanding for the spirit. This is the first one. The second term for my understanding for this kind of spirit is courage. Courage is very important to one person or one country. But what is courage? From my understanding, the courage is not means you have the power to insist. But sometimes you don't have power, but you also continue to do something. So encourage or courage is very important to the spirit of one nation. You know, China, we have 5,000 years of civilization. China, we have 5,000 years of civilization. So why we can't? This is the the historic phenomenon in the world. Why? Because Chinese people, we have this kind of spirit. So I think to one person or to one nation, the spirit, this kind of spirit, to against or end invasion war is very important. Not only in the time of the war, but also in the time of peace. So this is my understanding.
Thank you, Professor Liu. So what do you think we should learn from the history?
Yeah, I'm professor for history, but also professor for peace studies. So, you know, history like a mirror. Yeah. We learn something from history, then the person, one nation, can learn something from the history and become much more clever. So I think, how can we learn from the history? One thing is very important. We must to build us much more stronger. This is very important to one person or one nation, one country. Usually we said, one person weaker, you're much more easy to invade by others. This is the modern history of China, because we are weak. So we should focus on ourselves building, for example, economic or culture, something like that, become much more bigger and bigger, or much more stronger and stronger. Then we can against this kind of war avoidance happened once again. This is one thing I think about. The second one I also think is very important is we should think why somebody or some country, they have great power, they can invade others. So we should think about the system construction. The world system, we need to improve the system of the political, economic, or culture of the world in the international level to against or forbidden this kind of war or violence action happened once again. So this is the second one. The third one, I think, is also very important, is peace education. Yeah, just like China is become a great power, we are the second largest economic. We don't think some country or some people, they can invade China once again because we become much more stronger. But education is very important. Why some country, they become stronger? They want to invade others. I think, you know, war is come from human being mind. But how to change our mind to a violence to a peace? How to change a culture of violence to be to a culture of peace? This is very important. This is, I think, we should learning from the history. It's also today we usually to do some activities to memorial the war. So I think if you say yes to peace, we must say no to war.
Thank you, Professor Liu. Thank you for coming here. Yeah. As China's first international peace city, Nanjing became the host city of China's International Peace Day celebrations in 2018. Under the Statue of Peace, 20 heads of government and representatives of organizations from different countries and regions of the world joined hands to plant a tree bearing the symbol of peace. The sculpture depicts a young mother holding up her young child with one hand and holding up a dove of peace with the other. It is 30 meters high, indicating the mourning of 300,000 dead people during the Nanjing Massacre. It has 9 steps, heralding lasting peace and shared prosperity.
Much stronger than 75 years ago, China has determination, resolve, and a national strength to overcome all the challenges.
Yes, and the lessons of war help people to value peace all the more. That's all for today's Xinhua Live. Thank you for watching. See you next time.